Friday Night Dinner is a British television show created and written by Robert Popper. It's a television show that I've enjoyed for a number of years, and it's one that has bubbled along nicely for Channel 4, up until recent months when it seems to have absolutely exploded in popularity. It's quickly becoming a worthy addition to the ever-growing British sitcom Hall of Fame, and it's making people do some weird shit. The premise is about as simple as you can get it. The show follows a Jewish family of 4, with the majority of episodes taking place around their weekly Friday night dinner together. The production value, although it has clearly increased with each season, isn't particularly high. Being on Channel 4, usually taking place in one location, and having a small cast of characters makes it easy to assume the show is run on a small budget. And so, whatever the show gets right, it does so on its own merit. The main characters include Adam and Johnny, their parents Jackie and Martin, and their neighbour Jim. Reoccurring characters include Auntie Val, Grandma Nellie, and Horrible Grandma. Wait, no Wilson? No Wilson! That's better. The bare bones of a typical episode is as follows. Adam and Johnny arrive at their parents' house for a Friday night dinner. The dinner is interrupted in some way. The evening is derailed and leads to an absurd ending. But what makes Friday night dinner so watchable? Well, a lot of it is down to the characters. Jackie is a loving mother. She makes babies of her children, she's easy to make grumpy, and she's often intrusive with the questions she asks the boys. Despite being the butt of a lot of jokes, she's definitely the head of the household.
Your mother is not a hooker.
That's good to know.
If she was, I'm sure she'd do a roaring trade, wouldn't you, my darling?
Martin is a quirky father. He loves science and calculating. His hygiene leaves something to be desired, and he uses words and phrases that set him apart from the rest of the family. He's also often oblivious to the situations unfolding around him, and will say things out loud that most of us would keep to ourselves.
My dad's just died.
Oh my God.
How awful. What sort of dog was it?
Adam is the older of the 2 brothers. For the most part, he's fairly ordinary, and initially serves as the voice of reason and a sanity check for us viewers to benchmark from. How Adam reacts in the early episodes allows us to gauge what is and isn't ordinary for the Goodmans.
Crossface?
Johnny is the younger of the 2 brothers. He lives to wind up his family, specifically Adam, but often ends up as the one embarrassed on a larger scale by the situations he makes for himself.
Don't tell Mum.
Sorry, we were just...
Johnny's got a tattoo.
What? You shit! Ow! Oh!
Jim is a socially awkward neighbour. Aside from Wilson, his pet dog who he is irrationally afraid of, he hasn't got any friends. He bothers the Goodmans on a regular basis, likely because he finds Jackie attractive.
It just went up in flames.
Your bath caught fire.
That's right.
How?
I dropped a candle in it. You mean your bathtub caught fire? Yes, Martin.
Well, what the hell's it made of?
Elm.
Although every character has annoying traits, this actually makes them all the more enjoyable to watch on screen. Each of the core cast members are unique to each other, and they contrast well in every scene they share. Their interests and personalities differ considerably, but they have enough in common to make them a believable and relatable family. The Goodmans are quintessentially middle class, and this resonates with the majority of people watching. It's really easy to watch Friday Night Dinner and use the Goodmans as a mask for your own family members. Maybe you've got an annoying sibling that seems like they were only born to frustrate you. Perhaps your mum still likes to make a fuss out of you despite having left home. Or maybe your dad uses words and phrases that nobody else ever would.
God, stop it, you bloody wombat!
The show has no big action sequences or set pieces. It focuses entirely around the character interactions, and I believe one of the main reasons that the show is so popular is because the interactions are so genuine. The way Adam and Johnny wind each other up, pulling the same pranks from episode to episode. The way Jackie tells Martin off, voicing her disapproval with the things he does. The Goodmans are a recognisable amalgamation of a million British families. If you didn't grow up in an environment that shares similarities with the Goodman household, chances are you'll know a family that did, and people love what they recognise. Add the family formula to a 6-episode series, and you're onto a winner. Friday Night Dinner never outstays its welcome. It focuses on the same 5 characters every week, with only a handful of reoccurring characters, and it almost always takes place on a Friday evening at dinner time. This should be a recipe for a really boring television show. How many times can you see the same family sit down for dinner? Well, at the time of making this video, there's been 5 series of Friday Night Dinner, and it hasn't gone stale yet. I think a big part of it still being a refreshing watch is the fact that, like with many British sitcoms, it only lasts 6 episodes a season. And this seems to be somewhat of a golden number for British TV shows. You get enough from 6 episodes to be really satisfied without risking your audience becoming fatigued. Throw in a few episodes that change the formula considerably, such as the episode set on Christmas Day or Grandma Nellie's wedding day, and each episode still seems original enough to justify watching another one. And then another one. And then another shitting one. Swearing is a tool that, when used properly, can make a huge difference to a script. A show about eating dinner with your family could easily have seen itself written with a younger audience in mind, and played out at 7 PM every week. And yet, Friday Night Dinner finds itself sitting comfortably in a spot post-Watershed. The swearing in the show is used for comedic reasons, and they are sprinkled through conversations in ways that families realistically use them, usually as insults, or in times of frustration.
Shit on the shitting thing!
The show also makes plenty use of running gags and catchphrases. These are comical actions or phrases that reoccur throughout the programme, including Jim moving towards Wilson and then becoming extremely scared of him despite Wilson not moving at all, Martin telling Jackie that she's cooked a lovely bit of squirrel,
This is a lovely bit of squirrel.
the boys pouring salt into each other's drinks,
Oh.
Jim cutting holes in his shirt, and not forgetting
Shalom. Shalom.
and that's just to name a few. Running gags are a great asset in comedy, and many people have done videos on running gags in the past, so I won't dwell on them too much, but they serve as a great reward to a loyal audience. A repeated joke that doesn't draw too much attention to itself and stays funny can be a big hit with a fan base, and it makes those that recognise them feel part of a special club. Saying shalom to somebody who caught a few episodes here or there will mean absolutely nothing, but if you say shalom to a person who watches the show religiously,
Shalom.
I'll get the bleach.
well, you've just made a new best friend. There's a real joy that comes with watching awkward characters being awkward in socially awkward situations, and there's a certain Britishness that comes with being kind to people you can't stand, trying to stay on pleasant terms with people you hate simply because you don't want to deal with confrontation. Your average Brit would rather spend 20 years acting like they enjoyed the company of somebody than tell them that they didn't like them, just so that uncomfortable 5-minute conversation could be avoided. And if there's one thing we love watching, it's people in this exact situation. None of the Goodmans enjoy Jim's company, and yet they endure it every week. There's something exhilarating about watching somebody push on with awkward politeness in a situation they don't want to be in. It makes for great third-party cringe. All the time you're watching the bubbling anger increase while the annoyance remains unaware. In Friday Night Dinner, these situations are often made worse by the interference of other family members, and it's fun to watch on as characters start to veer towards their breaking point. Although I would debate one of the best parts of the show is not when the family are fueling each other's frustration, but rather when they're dealing with the same frustration together. Friday Night Dinner peaks when the Goodmans, this family made up of 4 very different people, are put in a situation where an external body throws them all into an uncomfortable situation, together. Although the show still relishes in comedic moments throughout this happening, it becomes less about family members finding joy in each other's irritation, and more about the dysfunctional family showing that they can function as a family unit. And my favourite examples of this are the episodes that involve Mr. Morris.
Well, I'll tell you what it's all about. Punk rock.
Punk rock?
Yes, it's everywhere. You turn on the radio, punk rock.
Right.
You walk down the street, everywhere punk rockers.
Everywhere.
He doesn't like punk rockers.
I don't.
Friday Night Dinner is a television show that the rest of the world just won't find funny. The humour for Friday Night Dinner is so embedded in British culture that I'm amazed that America have taken notice. But take notice they have. They've tried to remake Friday Night Dinner for an American audience, not once, not twice, but 3 times. It's a programme they see performing well over here, that they just can't get right themselves. And for good reason. When you take away everything that makes Friday Night Dinner special in the UK, you're left with 4 people having dinner. and that really doesn't give you much to work with at all.
Well, maybe you shouldn't have done that then. Oh, Adam, you're a naughty boy. Martin, tell him.
You're a naughty boy.
Dad?